Federal Executive Council approves National Quality Policy for Exports. OPEC stresses importance of oil market stability and investment. House of Representatives will pass PIB into law in April, says Gbajabiamila. Plus, slash on duties of imported vehicles to begin next week, says Customs. Details of this and more on Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. A new national quality policy has been approved by federal government. It is aimed at ensuring that exported goods meet international best standards. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo, announced this while briefing journalists after the meeting of the Federal Executive Council.
For a long time, Nigerian exporters have been suffering as a result of lack of quality of their goods. And we felt that it was time that we actually had a policy which will create a situation whereby the standards will be raised of Nigerian goods that are exported, and such that that rejection would stop. Fourth memo which was presented was also on behalf of the Nigeria Export Processing Zones Authority, and it is for the purchase of a property in Lagos to be used as the Lagos Zonal Office.
And moving on, the House of Representatives has reiterated the commitment of the Parliament to passing the Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB, into law in April this year. Speaker House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila gave the assurance while making his remarks at the public hearing organized by the Ad Hoc Committee of the House on PIB currently ongoing. Lami Ali reports.
The Petroleum Industry Bill was transmitted to the National Assembly in September 2020 from the Executive. This is after its aborted journey in successive governments for the past 20 years. Speaker House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, at the public hearing, says the PIB will be passed by the House by April 2021, and the draft will protect the interests of Nigeria and Nigerians as the world moves towards renewable energy.
The truth remains that modernizing and diversifying our economy away from the over-reliance on income from fossil fuels becomes a matter of great urgency with each passing day. The irony, of course, is that to do this, we must first make sure our oil and gas industry is more productive, more efficient, and more profitable at a time of declining global profitability.
The petroleum industry bill, when passed into law, would bring about the much needed reform in the oil industry, entrench efficiency and transparency in both upstream and downstream sectors, and bring operations at par with international standards.
Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timipe Silva, the Group Managing Director of Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Mele Kyari, and the Executive Secretary, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mohammed Nami, highlighted the advantages of the legislation to the government and host communities.
The bill is designed to guarantee early revenues for government, clarify roles, and simplify administration of the sector.
We have a huge population that is growing. We have 70% of our population below the age of 30. And then the future is really great. And what we can do today is to focus on deepening our our midstream and downstream. That means bringing more gas into our domestic market.
Tax administration of the oil and gas industry will also change, in particular the fiscal of the upstream sector, where the dual tax regime, hydrocarbon tax, and the company's income tax will be adopted for the first time in the history of Nigeria.
The public hearing will end on Thursday.
Secretary General of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, Mohammed Sanusi Barkindo, says the declaration of cooperation DOC in its 5th year has helped the industry traverse 2 historic downturns by bringing together 23 oil-producing nations to help return balance to the global oil market and achieve a sustainable stability in the interest of both producers and consumers. Lydia Sampson reports.
COVID-19 pandemic pervaded almost every aspect of daily lives, with widespread lockdowns, economies in major distress, and many businesses shorted in. In terms of the oil and gas industry, every producer was impacted. No one was immune. The Declaration of Cooperation, now Charter of Cooperation, illustrated in April 2020 when the price of West Texas Intermediate crude oil went negative and the industry faced a potential crude oversupply of nearly 1.3 billion barrels. Again, OPEC agreed on the largest and longest production adjustments in the history of OPEC and the oil industry. OPEC Secretary General said this is an outstanding example of the multilateral approach which ushered in a new era in global energy cooperation. He said the diligent and coordinated response to voluntary production adjustment decisions taken by the DOC helped rebalance the market and revived the industry.
Oil market stability and more broadly energy market stability will be vital to the energy transition. Stability begets stability, and this will be essential to helping bring on board the huge investments required in the years ahead.
Barkindo says it has been one step at a time, guided by data analysis and robustly supported by the strong multilateral process of OPEC already in place. He said the pursuit of global multilateralism to help drive the global energy transition cannot be overemphasized. Though vaccines offer some needed light at the end of the tunnel, the ever-increasing number of COVID-19 cases, human loss, as well as renewed lockdowns are a harsh reminder of how delicate the situation remains. Nevertheless, Barkindo says OPEC is cautiously optimistic of global economic rebound in 2021, as well as for significant oil demand growth. He called for continued month-by-month approach to assessing market conditions while standing ready to take any necessary action through the DOC.
A new report by Cybercology says cybercrime has increased by 63% since the COVID-19 lockdown was introduced. It also says human error poses cybersecurity challenges for 80% of businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has forced organizations and individuals to embrace new practices such as social distancing and remote working. But while the world is focused on the health and economic threats posed by COVID-19, cyber criminals around the world are capitalizing on this crisis. Well, cybersecurity and cyber safety is our focus today on Business Express, and we have a cyber expert, Abdul Hakim Ajijala, who joins us via Zoom to do justice to the issue. Glad to have you on the program, Mr. Ajijala.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. Good to have you too. Well, as more businesses are going online due to the COVID-19, more criminals are taking advantage of this to perpetrate their crimes. What has been the impact of the COVID-19 on cybersecurity?
First of all, we have to understand that business has moved online faster than would probably or likely have naturally happened. And this is primarily due to COVID-19. In many cases, home networks, because we are working from home now, are often much weaker than our corporate networks, especially in terms of security. And don't forget, our home networks are also shared by family members, and many of them may not be as cyber savvy as they need to be. So cyber criminals have adapted to this, one, by targeting home networks, and two, by the proliferation of cyber COVID-19 related cyber scams, such as all kinds of funny cures, purchase of masks, and related equipment.
Okay, a lot of information, or I call it data, is being put on the cyberspace, like rightly acknowledged by you, by individuals and businesses. How safe is this data online? For example, some of which are on Facebook, WhatsApp, and other social media. We understand that even when you delete the data, it still remains for about 90 days. How true is that, and how safe is such data?
Well, first of all, let me start by saying that there is a difference between security and privacy. Security is about safeguarding your data against unauthorized access. And privacy is about safeguarding your identity regardless of who has access to that data. Unfortunately, history has shown, particularly with Facebook, that your data is not safe at all. In fact, it has been known to be traded. That's part of how Facebook makes its money, as we've seen in the case of Cambridge Analytica, which had an impact in the US, but also had some impact in Nigeria. So if it's on a corporate network, then the degree of security is quite high. But on many of these open, relatively open social networks, it isn't. And that is part of the reason that today we have a lot of concerns with WhatsApp, because though WhatsApp in of itself has a lot of safety features, we must not forget that it has now been bought by Facebook, and therefore Facebook is slowly integrating WhatsApp into its own processes for Facebook's business efficiency, not necessarily the security and privacy of you and I.
Okay, for instance, take for instance WhatsApp. WhatsApp messages and mostly calls, you hear that they have end-to-end encryption. What does that mean?
Well, basically, let's go back a step. What is encryption? Encryption is a process that converts the original representation, whether it is text, audio, pictures, video, etc., into an illegible format. So based on mathematical processes, so that even if it's intercepted, you can't read it unless you have the key to reverse the process. So in terms of the content, yes, WhatsApp is actually quite safe. But the challenge with WhatsApp is that it also collects some other data around the content. Who is speaking to whom? When did you speak? What was the size of the file that were transferred? So WhatsApp itself collects about 16 pieces of additional information beyond the content. Whereas somebody like Facebook, their own messenger collects about 39 pieces of content. And there is an argument by many people that say, well, I'm innocent, I have nothing to hide, and therefore, why should I worry? Well, I would like to urge you to worry, because even if you're innocent, nobody wants people to know what's happening in their bathroom. Nobody wants to know what's happening in their bedroom. And therefore, privacy is key. It's not about innocence or guilt.
So that's to say there is a privacy issue, because you as an individual, you don't have control over what these pieces of information being picked from your conversations will be used for.
Again, I want to stress, it's not the content of the conversation, it's the data around the data. The technical term is metadata, which is data about data. Whom you spoke to, when you spoke to them, how long you spoke to them. If you transferred files, how large they are. So it's not the specifics of the content. It's those other information around the content which give away your location and other privacy information.
Can such information be given to a third party without your permission?
Yes. Well, actually, you've given permission when you log on to Facebook, when you install it for the first time. There's a long legal document, and usually 99% of us just click OK. And basically, contained within that document, you are giving permission for that data not simply to be shared, but actually to be sold. So your information at times is monetized, and you as the user have no access even to any income from your own data.
Okay, there's a report that says human error poses cybersecurity challenges for about 80% of businesses during this COVID-19 pandemic. How true is such an assertion?
I would actually say human error is more often than not the primary cause of cybersecurity challenges. There are three components: the people, the processes, and the technology, the equipment. And by and large, people often, not always, but often are the weak point. So this is in line with normal cybersecurity expectations.
Okay, with COVID-19 still around and businesses who have to survive, a lot have moved from the physical space to the cyber space. What should such businesses do to not just only thrive but to stay safe while transacting businesses online?
I think there are a couple of things that businesses need to do. First of all, they have to practice what is called good cyber hygiene. And may I just add, it's not just about businesses, it's also individuals, you and I. We have to practice good cyber hygiene. What do we mean by this? Fundamentally, we have to make sure that we have good passwords. At least they should be 9 characters long. They should use a mix of uppercase, lowercase, symbols, etc. You shouldn't use the same password for the same set of accounts, different accounts. So your social media password should not be your bank password, and certainly don't share them or leave them lying around. Also, it's very important that users, and this is back to the human issue that you brought up, don't click on strange links. If you see a USB lying on the street, don't just pick it up and plug it into your computer, especially if you work in a sensitive industry such as national security or oil and gas or banking and finance. And also, you need to update your software and other systems very regularly. Of course, you need to have some kind of antivirus and other tools. Again, they must be updated. And the bottom line really is that you must remain eternally vigilant. For businesses, I think it is critical that they continue to invest in people, in processes, in technology, so that they keep the people of the enterprise, but also the data of the enterprise safe. Because after people, data is the most important single element for any enterprise.
In all of this, is online business still the way to go?
We have no choice. It's the way the business of the world is going. It's the way business is going. You for example, there was a time you could not conduct business without having some kind of telegram facility. We're talking about the teletext in the old Nitel days. Today, it moved to email. Now it seems to be moving to some of these apps such as WhatsApp, Signal, and the like. But on the flip side, if I may just point out to you that one of the impacts of COVID-19 on cybersecurity is that it has created great new opportunities. For example, it's really a booming opportunity for the rise of professionals to counter cybercrimes. In 2020, the Africa cybersecurity market was worth $2.32 billion. That's a business opportunity for Nigeria and Nigerians. In the same 2020, there was a global shortage of cybersecurity professionals to the tune of 3.1 million people shortage. This is an opportunity for our young people to get into this kind of growing profession. And as we know, when there's a shortage of beans in the market, the price increases. And I think some governments, and I pray that our government will be one of them, are beginning to wake up to the kinds of opportunities to create a viable cybersecurity economic subsector, because as we are finding out, the threats are real. So also let us take advantage of the opportunities and not simply dwell on just the problems.
Okay, underway now is an attempt by government to centralize data, and one of the means of doing that is the present NIN registration, linking your NIN with your mobile and some other data. There has been agitation, there are these fears being allayed that such data is not safe, people could lose their monies. As an expert in this line of business, what is your submission on it?
That's a difficult question. I think there's a lot of politics in this issue. Certainly, for example, having a national identity is crucially important. I believe that it is foundational to our national development, and especially the contemporary and modern direction we want to go in. I think there are a lot of questions really that are raised about the methodology, the processes. It might interest you to know that, for example, in the UK, there is no central database. But having said that, the model that Nigeria was evolving, which was very similar in recent times to the Indian model, clearly can work. I think that one of the challenges we have is that some of these things are being rushed. And I'm not convinced that the reasoning in terms of using NIN to forestall a kidnapper or using NIN to track down terrorists is necessary. Alternate ways to do things. But having said that, the national ID as a process, as a system, is crucial. I think it's just some of these other things that are around it that are actually distracting us from the centrality and the core requirement of everybody having some kind of national identity.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Ajijola Abdulakim, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
Let's now take a trip to the commodity market. And now to our series. COVID-19 pandemic has been a learning curve for many business owners, particularly fashion designers, with smaller teams and a willingness to adapt. They are riding out of the storm by recalibrating their businesses. On our Surviving the COVID-19 series today, Nneka Oko interacted with a fashion designer who is staying strong in the face of the economic shutdowns.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Like other sectors, the fashion industry faced unprecedented challenges in the month following COVID-19 global outbreak. But while some businesses were shutting their doors to the pandemic, fashion designers were resolute, working hard to find ways to innovate and bring in revenue. Judith Vingel, a fashion designer, says pivoting her focus from producing everyday outfit to manufacturing face masks helped her business stay afloat.
At first, I could not imagine waking up and, just being in bed, sleeping at home, staying at home, doing nothing. The first ever of its kind. It will throw you off balance as a business person. You're trying to figure out, okay, so what next? Okay, so what is really happening? What is this COVID thing? What is it about? You could not get COVID if you were wearing a mask. And I said, okay, then that's business for me. I'm a fashion designer. It's business. Off. I got to work immediately. and I started producing face masks.
For Judith, staying as creative and efficient as possible is the ultimate goal, even as she's open to any assistance from government to grow her business.
At the beginning of the pandemic, I was just like, okay, because I have to pay staff, I have to do this, I have to do that. We have to do a lot of things. We need money. So we got news that, the government actually was looking out for us. So I started to apply. I applied for, some schemes that the government has put in place, and it's still in the process.
Any takeaways from the pandemic?
COVID taught me to be more creative. I began to learn too many things. It was a defining moment for me. I started to learn too many things.
Although business owners say the pandemic badly affected the sector, the flexibility and adaptability shown by the fashion industry is an attestation to the fact that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership.
Next is events on the global market, seen with Bosade Ebo.
European stocks opened lower in early Thursday trading as global markets react to a sharp sell-off on Wall Street Wednesday. London's FTSE is seen opening 56 points lower at 6,515. Germany's DAX 76 points lower at 13,569. And France's CAC 40 down 31 points at 5,430. Shares in Asia Pacific fell on Thursday following an overnight plunge on Wall Street that wiped out the S&P 500's 2021 gains and left it in negative territory for the year. Shanghai Composite down 1.97% to 3,502.21. Hang Seng Index shared 2.27% as of its final hour of trading, and Nikkei declined 0.53% to close at 28,197.42. Stock futures tied to major U.S. equity indices were little changed in early morning trading on Thursday, as the market is poised to extend a sharp sell-off amid concerns about heightened speculative trading. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average traded just 2 points higher. S&P 500 futures were little changed, while Nasdaq 100 futures traded in negative territory. For Africa, it was a bleeding start for most of the stocks, aside Ghana's GSA Composites, which posted gains. Bosade Able, Business Express.
This is where we end this edition of Business Express. Business Express returns tomorrow at 3 p.m. Be safe out there.